Sorry.
Iranian regime firing on at least 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media claiming 2 of them are now in control of the IRGC. These are civilian vessels, by the way. All this complicating the ceasefire that was supposed to end today, as new reports claim President Trump is now giving him 3 to 5 days to get behind a counteroffer because they are not on the same page, even to deal with us. Here with what all this means for the U.S. naval forces and our forces, retired U.S. 4-star Admiral William McRaven. Great to see you, Admiral.
Yeah, good to be with you, Brian.
Your thoughts about where we're at now. You just told me in the green room for decades you guys have had a plan to go at Iran for different administrations and generations. Where are we at?
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact of the matter is since 1979, I think every president has wanted to kind of change the regime in Iran. So we've had plans.
I mean, even though we helped put that regime in there, but it is what it is.
It's for a long time about that. So where we are now, we're at an impasse at the end of the day. The Iranians don't want to come to the negotiating table until we lift the blockade. But the blockade for us is a pressure point on Iran. So at some point in time, someone's going to have.
But then here's the thing, though. Do y'all want the Strait open or not? That's what's kind of weird. Then, like, y'all messages, we want to get the Strait open. Iran says they're going to open the Strait if you move the naval blockade, but you keep it on, assuring that Iran's going to now close the Strait again. So did you want it open or not? Because obviously y'all didn't. Y'all actions does not reflect that, sadly. If the non-removal of the blockade, that doesn't show that we actually wanted the Strait open, especially since Iran opened the Strait first.
Have to blink. If I were advising the president, I'd say, if you really want to get the Iranians to the negotiating table, continuing to bomb them probably isn't going to work. Lift the blockade for a period of the ceasefire, and the blockade is a switch. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. So if you lift the blockade and allow them to come to the negotiating table, try to get some movement on this.
They got to get out of the Strait, though.
They got to get out of the Strait, yeah. But you lift the blockade, and if they don't comply, you just put the blockade back in place. I mean, this is not something that takes a lot of machinations to happen.
So the president said, hey, I'm taking out their power plants. I'm going to go for the bridges if they don't come to the table. Why is that not a good idea?
It's not a good idea because, again, the Iranians have got thousands of drones and still probably 1,000 short-range ballistic missiles.
Okay, you know what? Shout out to bro. He's probably the only guy on Fox News that just ain't say, yes, we must bomb. We must cause complete destruction across Iran. Like, thank you for not saying that. He's like, no, that's a terrible idea. If you attack their power plants and their water salination centers and their bridges, they're going to do the same thing across the Middle East, guys. Yes, in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, all over here, everything over here is going to be cooked. The only guys that probably going to be left alone is Iraq.
They will attack their Arab neighbors. Sure. They will go after the desalination plants. They will go after the Arab power plants.
And shout out to Steph. She says White House is live right now, letting you know. Let me see here. Hold on.
90% of Kuwait's water comes from a desalination plant. So if we begin to take out the Iranian power plants, then they will respond against the Arabs, and that will create more economic problems, global economic problems, in addition to problems in the neighborhood.
Do you who would you deal with? Who do you want to deal with? The IRGC, or would you rather deal with the foreign minister?
The fact of the matter is the IRGC is probably running the country, but you have to deal with the foreign minister. The foreign minister right now represents Iran, whether we like it or not. I agree with the president. I do think there is a fractured group. The hard part is, how do you get a consolidated answer from Iran? Hard to do.
Congratulations. You're one of the most respected people in the country, and some of your commencement speeches, one in particular in 2014, it still resonates at the University of Texas where you worked. But you have a brand new book out called Duty, Honor, Country, and Life, a tribute to the American spirit. Admiral, why did you write this?
Well, one, we got 250th coming up. And part of this was, people seem to be losing a little bit of hope in America. And this book, my speeches are really stories, and they're stories I've kind of been telling over the last 20 years. But everywhere I go, I meet great Americans that inspire you, that give you hope, that make you realize
Not in uniform.
Not in uniform, absolutely. This is not a book about people in uniform. This is, students and astronauts and doctors and Irishmen and football players. But people are losing a little bit of faith in America. If you're losing faith in America, read this book. I think it'll put you right back on the right path.
You also want to bring civility back.
Absolutely.
I mean, the commercials that have people cursing, talking about a certain president or party, it's got to go. But we have an excerpt that we thought would be great for you to read from your book.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm done.
A virus was sweeping through hospitals and assisted living homes, taking the lives of our citizens and leaving many Americans terrified about their future. We needed courage, and we needed heroes. and heroes we got. They were the healthcare workers, the first.
All right. Let's go ahead and get over to the next coverage real quick. Let's see here. Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, but let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. All right, guys, let's get over right back into Fox.
Fox News alert, bridge and power plant day could now be any day of the week. A fierce power struggle breaking out in Iran. And President Trump showing a lot of patience. 47 says U.S. airstrikes have seriously fractured the regime. So Pakistan asked us to hold off on B&P Day until Iran can get it together. Tonight, there could be a coup. No one knows who's calling the shots. Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner were supposed to leave for Islamabad, but they never took off there because the Iranian delegation never took off, which is suspicious because this morning, Trump said the gay Ayatollah authorized the deal.
They just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they
I'm
were going to
sorry,
do
they're
anyway.
still saying that.
I mean, I don't think that is true.
I'm sorry, but I'm just going to be real with you. The Ayatollah hasn't confirmed to be gay. It's not confirmed to be gay. It was a CIA report suspecting the Ayatollah was gay because he had a close relationship with his tutor. But the Ayatollah, you know, he has kids. I mean, one died in a strike against Khomeini, but yeah, bro got kids.
They have to negotiate. And, you know, the one thing I'll say is this: Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, a wonderful nation again. They have incredible people. But they seem to be, you know, bloodthirsty.
So the gay Ayatollah told his ministers wheels up, but the military said not so fast. We're basically looking at another Iranian hostage crisis. This time they've taken themselves hostage, and therefore the negotiations. The IRGC won't agree to sign over the Strait and the uranium, and they're the only votes that matter because they're the ones with the guns. The generals are demanding Trump lift the blockade as a precondition for more peace talks. They want to play an economic game of chicken.
Iran sees this as a game of endurance. They believe that time is on their side and that ultimately the domestic pressure when it comes to energy markets and the stock market will force President Trump to make a deal that's in their favor. That is not the truth. That is not the reality. The president and his counterparts in Israel have the ability to continue this operation for months if they need to.
It's
okay, and gas prices will go up for months, and things will be more hard on the American people. Gas is at now, well, Brent crude is at $101, and WTI is at 92, and it was just at what, 80 a couple of days ago. So I'm sorry, but if this blockade continues, it's not going to be any better. Inflation is going to go up because gas is going to still be up because the cost of per barrel is still up. What are you talking about?
Iranians up against the clock. The blockade's already cost them over $1 billion. Checks are bouncing, and their economy's in a death spiral and facing a Great Depression. Scott Bessent says, quote, in a matter of days, Kharg Island storage will be full, and the fragile Iranian oil wells will be shut in. The blockade's turned around 28 ships sailing to or from Iranian ports, most of them oil tankers. And we took custody of a runner sailing in from China with missile ingredients.
We caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps. I don't know. But I was a little surprised, but because I have a very good relationship, and I thought I had an understanding with President Xi, but that's all right. That's the way war goes, right?
And it just got worse for the enemy. The Navy boarded another vessel from their
pretty much we're allowing Chinese vessels to go through, but you know, China's giving us the trust me, bro, on, oh, you know, don't make sure you guys don't send Iran no weapons. And China's like, all right, cool, you know, as long as you let our vessels through. And that's our little special deal with China when it comes to this naval blockade.
Shadow fleet. The Tiffany. How cute. A sanctioned tanker carrying 2 million barrels of Iranian crude sailing to Shanghai. No bueno. The blockade's ripple effect is hitting Beijing. Choke points are getting squeezed from the Gulf to the Strait of Malacca. It just so happens that we conducted joint naval exercises with the Japanese in the South China Sea. And the Army just finished up joint live fire training with the Philippines. Xi's losing friends fast. The president putting pressure on the Middle Kingdom to make its proxy give up the dust. Vance isn't flying halfway across the world to Pakistan for nothing.
This could have a salutary ending. What are the chances of that? I think probably 2 and 3 right now, 65%. They're not sending the vice president over there to walk away again. They really think there'll be a deal. I think there's a 2 and 3 chance we get to it.
And if you watched primetime last night, General Petraeus also seemed optimistic about a deal. He just didn't think it'd happen today. And he was right. Our patience may be running thin, but our stockpile isn't.
It's not my choice, but it will also hurt them. It'll hurt them militarily. They use the bridges for their weapons, for their missile movements. You know, they're trying to move the missiles because we've obliterated most of their missiles, and they're trying to move their missiles around, even during the ceasefire, which I think was a good thing because we're totally loaded up. We have so much ammo. We have so much of everything that we like.
As the reports say differently, like, yeah, we're actually running out of ammo. We're actually running low on missiles. 50% of our stockpile has been reduced, and we don't have no way of replenishing them. But of course, you know, Trump got to sell it to you guys and tell you that, no, we're all good, guys. We got all the missiles in the world, guys. We have infinite missiles, infinite ammo, guys. We have the cheat code when we don't. So we don't really know how long we can keep this going. Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys, and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Just hit that icon above. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's get right back into it. If you got any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it, just like my man Sid. He says, everything Jesse says in this segment is unverified and conjecture, yet it plays on primetime television. Bro, I'm gonna be real with you, man. This man Jesse been out of pocket since this Iran war started, bro. He's been so out of pocket. Calling the Ayatollah gay, that's unconfirmed information. Like, bro, everything he's been saying about this war just been unconfirmed. He's honestly just trying to sell you a good image of it. And I respect the effort of propaganda because, you know, he get paid millions for this. So, you know, he gotta sell it. But it's like, dog, this man's been so out of touch. I mean, bro's bragging about bombing bridges and power plants. And I'm just like, bro, if Biden was doing that, you would say, oh, this is disgusting. This is horrible. But because it's Trump, it's like a hip hip hooray moment. I'm like, what's going on here?
Much more powerful than it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we've used this to restock, and they probably have done a little bit of restocking.
Over the last 24 hours, we're seeing heavy Air Force activity, major resupplies coming in from American bases in Europe. Plus, the USS Gerald Ford just re-entered the Red Sea. And by Saturday, we'll have all 3 carrier strike groups, the Ford, Lincoln, and Bush, in theater. We might unwrap some new toys. The Marines just unveiled a new shore-to-shore landing ship designed to deliver 800 tons of troops, weapons, supplies directly to beachheads. Getting its last coat of paint is the lead ship, the USS McClung, named after a Marine major who was killed in combat in Iraq, the first female graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy to be killed in action. Our anti-sub aircraft, the P-8 Poseidon, has been surveilling the Strait from the skies, and they're working overtime. So KC-135 Stratotankers are refueling them midair.
Are they trying to foreshadow a ground invasion? Because that's exactly what it sounds like he's doing. He's flexing on the whole fact that, you know what, guys, we got them guys out there ready to do a ground invasion. We're going to take Carg Island and the rest of them, guys. Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, once we put the troops on the ground, I mean, we're really about to see what's going to go. We're really about to see the horrors of this war. I'm be honest with you guys. Like, when troops hit the ground, that's when things get serious. And then that's why we really don't want that to happen. That's why we want a ceasefire and a peace deal. But sadly, it doesn't look like the U.S. want that. I'm just being honest with you. It doesn't seem like we want that, to be real with you guys. We're doing everything to avoid it.
CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper went to Israel last week, where he approved joint plans for a brand new target bank, which include energy and infrastructure and whatever missile launchers the regime.
Yes, indistinguishable from how Russian state TV sounds. Nah. The reason I'm laughing because I was watching Russian state TV one time, bro, and these guys were so like bloodthirsty. They were literally celebrating the attacking on a capital, like literally overly happy about it. I'm just like, innocent civilians? Like, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I hear you, bro. It's like the bloodthirstiness of like the way they sound about just bombing places that civilians or innocent people could get hurt, and they're just so excited about it. It is distasteful. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's not something you really want to hear or look at, but this is what we're getting, guys. This is what we're getting. I know that's a harsh criticism coming from Sid, but he's not wrong.
Dug out of the rubble. The ceasefire gave us time not only to resupply and acquire new targets, but a fresh batch of human intelligence came in. Any leader who poked his head out in the last 2 weeks is a goner. The alliance has spies all up and down Iran. So the next round of airstrikes will be devastating if it happens. Hard to know exactly what's happening inside the ranks, but sources tell Primetime the military sidelined the mullahs and are keeping the gay Ayatollah alive as a figurehead while they assert control over negotiations.
I don't know.
They basically have a gun to the head of the negotiators, and now everyone's afraid of getting killed, not just by the Americans, but by the Iranian military. It appears that there's already been somewhat of a soft military coup. And as the blockade keeps breaking the country's bank, there could be a coup within the military. The generals are having to decide the best way to hold on to power. Is it in a post-deal Iran, or is it in a state of constant warfare? No idea. This would be like if the enemy took out Trump, Vance, and the entire cabinet in 40 seconds.
Yeah, they would all be replaced, like do the line of succession. And I mean, yes, we have that already set up through the cabinet of who's going to replace who if, you know, the whole succession gets taken out. Actually, I think Scott Bessent would be up next if all of those guys got eliminated. It would be our Treasury Secretary. So Scott Bessent would be up next. So think about it. We even have a line of succession that goes down pretty damn far. So yeah, if Trump, Vance, Rubio gets taken out, I do believe up next will be Scott Bessent. And I think after Scott Mel or the national security advisor, yeah, I think it's Scott Bessent. I think he's either 5th or 4th in line.
Knocked out our entire military, plus all of our defense contractors, and had North America surrounded with carriers. And then Speaker Mike Johnson was supposed to fly overseas for peace talks, and a bunch of 2-star generals pulled out a gun and said, Mike, you're not going anywhere. For the first time in a long time, the president doesn't have a deadline. It's unusual for him, which tells me he's going to watch it unfold.
Okay, my bad. Just a correction on the line of succession. Vice President, Speaker of the House. So J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Speaker of the House. No, my bad. That'd be Mike Johnson. So yeah, so it'd be Mike Johnson. Then third would be Mark Rubio, Secretary of State. Then it would be Scott Bessent. Then it would be Pete Hegseth. And then after that, it'd be Pam Bondi. And then we just keep on going down the line. I mean, bro, it goes all the way down to 18. So the Iranians will have to kill everybody all the way down to the Secretary of Homeland Security. Like, literally 18 people would have to be knocked out all at once for us in America to sit there and be like, well, shit, I don't know what to do next. I mean, bro, they got all 18, these guys. I don't know. Shoot, they killed 15. We'd be at our Secretary of Energy. I mean, shoot, they killed the Secretary of Energy. We're our Secretary of Education. So we got a pretty long line of succession ourselves.
Feel it out, and a deal or an attack could happen at any minute. Be sure to like and subscribe.
My bad. You're right. Somebody said not Pam Bondi, but it would be Todd Blanche. I'm sorry. I was talking about the X one. Current AG would be not Pam Bondi, but Todd Blanche. Sorry, guys. Sorry. It's still a bit fresh. But all right, though, let's get into the next one here. Let's see what PBD is talking about. Let's get into independent media. Let's see what they're saying.
25 this morning at 4:25, Iran's attack at around the Strait of Hormuz. 3 ships, 2 of them they seized. One is a Panamanian ship. One is a ship from Greece. That we have different names for them as well. Rob, you can pull it up. Yeah, those are the ships. So while this happened, you know, this morning, if you look at the market oil prices, if you want to go to it, it's up a little bit. It's 91.37.
Speaking of that, man, Todd Blanche. Thank you. Actually, thank you for that reminder. Appreciate that. Even though you was being a dick about it, I still appreciate it. But anyway, though, what was it? Todd Blanche and Kash Patel had a pretty hard time at this little press briefing they were at. So Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel hold a press conference. And it did not go so well for my man, Kash Patel. It was actually pretty funny when he had to defend himself on his alleged alcohol use, which I'm pretty sure of. I mean, I'm sure he drinks, but is he an alcoholic? Maybe, possibly. But all right, though, let's get straight to the questions on this one.
To perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful for the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. Even though this money was made to appear to be coming from legitimate people and legitimate entities, we at the FBI, with our great partners at the Department of Justice and in the state of Alabama, were able to comb through a decade worth of material, a scheme that took a decade to build, so that we were able to follow the money, because money never lies, and they got caught. As the Attorney General said, these charges are varying. They are widespread and wide-ranging, and this investigation is very much ongoing. Today, we're here to announce the charges of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and this investigation and the individuals who are responsible will be brought to justice. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Director Patel. With any questions?
I'd like to know why individual people are not mentioned in this indictment. Is that something that's going to come down the pike? Is this just an indictment of the entity? Can you kind of explain, could people face charges here, or is this the indictment and you're done?
So, yes, I mean, as we said, the indictment, this investigation is very much ongoing. And today, the grand jury returned an indictment against only one entity, the Southern Poverty Law Center. And we'll go from there. But as you'll see from the indictment itself, it should be obvious from the indictment that the investigation is ongoing.
I just want to make sure I understand. You're alleging that the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying the leaders of KKK and other groups to continue their operations? Is that?
I'm not alleging it. The grand jury returned an indictment that says that. And so what the investigation found, according to the indictment that was returned today, is that they were paying. So Southern Poverty Law Center is raising money, asking folks to give them money to dismantle racism. And over a very long period of time, they were using some of the money they raised from donors to pay to, they called them field, basically to informants, for information, for access, to just pay them for certain to do certain things. And so, yes, that's exactly what the indictment charges.
I was wondering if this is going to expand perhaps to more groups. Perhaps there's been a lot of accusations about particular groups like the Patriot Front that get a lot of traction. And more so, is the government, or is this indictment, I should say, making the case that some of these matters where they've tried at great lengths to sort of make connections to people on the right, per Sanchez? I mean, Charlottesville was very much associated by the media with being sort of like part of a right-wing kind of thing. They're like good people on both sides type of thing. I mean, are we seeing a sort of the Southern Poverty Law Center was trying to create narratives using these types of groups to shape American public opinion?
Look, I think what the Southern Poverty Law Center has
My bad, guys. Appreciate that. What I was pretty much saying was, shout out to our man Josh for sending 250 jewels. And what I was pretty much saying was, he was talking about like Thomas Russo's guys and Patriot Front. Yeah, the little white supremacist group. Yeah, those guys, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't agree with their ideology in this whole, we need we need to cut out only for white people and white first and all this good stuff. And you're only a real American if you came from white European and all that. I disagree with all of that. But they do charity work. So I agree with that part.
has said over the years is available for the world to see.
Let's
It's on their
keep it
website.
real.
It's in other forums. The indictment speaks for itself. I'm not going to talk.
Like they were helping out during that Texas flood and handing out food and helping people, who houses were flooded and all that good stuff. So I was just like, ooh, that's some real. They real for that one. They real for that.
Outside the four corners of the indictment, it lays out what the grand jury found, and obviously there's a whole body of public information around what the Southern Poverty Law Center has done over the past several decades.
I mean, in some of these instances, these are groups that have been either their membership has been dismantled or they've definitely fallen out of public view. I'm just wondering the legal theory of how, these payments allegedly went on to actually benefit the groups. Did you see the money go to the groups themselves rather than just the individuals who were paid informants, essentially? And then I have an off-topic after.
So look, I want to be careful to keep any comments that we make inside the indictment. And so what the indictment lays out is payments to individuals who had leadership positions within these organizations. If that's what the grand jury found. And so to the extent that those individuals receiving, one received over $1 million, okay, to the extent over several years, to the extent that there's any link between that individual receiving the money and benefits to that organization, that's not in the indictment, but because again, it's not that individual who's charged with a crime. It's that individual was a informant or what have you. And it's Southern Poverty Law Center that made those payments to the individual, but it wasn't, look, the payments were not made to these individuals in exchange for a service separate and apart from their work within these organizations. So, that's I think speaks for itself.
Just on an off topic, obviously you've read the Atlantic article that's now a subject of a defamation lawsuit brought by
I absolutely did not read that article, but go ahead with your question.
I just, without
Atlantic article that was pretty much calling Kash Patel a paranoid drunk, pretty much. Saying that he pulled up to the office, he couldn't get in, or I guess he forgot his passcode. He was frantic, drunk. He thought he got fired. He was calling around, panicking. And this is coming from people in the office, allegedly. Now, Kash Patel, this is all lies, and they're lying on his name. He's going to start suing. So we'll see what comes about this. But Kash, you better start suing, or people are going to start believing that.
obviously it's up in litigation now. Have you separately just heard any concerns, given your supervision over the FBI director, about any problems with drinking?
I have a lot of concerns, and my concerns are completely around the anonymous reporting that comes forth constantly. That reporters have an obligation to report, and they have due diligence that they're supposed to do. And when an entire article is based on anonymous sources, and there's things in the article suggesting, for example, apparently that senior DOJ personnel were informed of something, that's me. I wasn't informed. No one called me about that. So, listen, I did not read that.
I mean, what about Pam Bondi? You asked her?
That article, it is the subject of litigation, but I've already spent too much time talking about it. Next question. Go ahead.
On that, Todd, I'm sorry. The FBI director is on camera with the U.S. Olympic hockey team chugging a beer. I mean, do you think that that's appropriate conduct for the FBI director?
That has nothing to do with the article. I mean, look, there's complete hit pieces, and you guys are in.
I'm sorry, they're doing Cash dirty right now. They're making Todd Bland speak for Cash. Like, I'd have just been like, all right, look, go, Cash, just come up here, bro. Defend yourself, because apparently they at your neck, not mine, but yours.
This business, and you know what they look like, and the fact that you're asking repeated questions about them almost as an admission of such. But when you have a bunch of people who are hiding behind closed curtains, saying things but not willing to say it publicly, and there's certain parts of the article that are blatantly false because apparently I was told something that I wasn't, it's suspicious. In the back.
That's fair.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Attorney General. Can you explain again what the fraud is here exactly? Are you saying it's illegal for the SPLC to pay money to people that are in hate groups, or something about the way this was done makes it illegal? Because it's not automatically illegal, is it?
No, that's right. It's a good question. So, and again, I summarized the indictment, and it's now public for everybody to read. But the Southern Poverty Law Center is a 501c3. Okay, they're required to, under the laws associated with a nonprofit, to have certain transparency and honesty in what they're telling donors they're going to spend money on, and what their mission statement is, and what they're raising money doing. And so, as the indictment points out, there's different ways that they raise money, and no fundraising efforts that the investigation found did they say, oh, and by the way, we're going to give $1 million to the Ku Klux Klan. So that's fraud. So that's wire fraud. So, and then the bank fraud part of it is you have KYC, you have an obligation to tell your financial institution what the corporation or the entity that you're opening an account for does. And the allegations in the indictment are that these were fictitious companies that were set up, and so there was certain information sworn to by SPLC executives about what the entities were doing that we allege is false.
Can I just follow up on? Can I have one follow up?
Go ahead.
On the hiring of Joe DeGenova to work for the department, can you just tell us a little bit? I understand you went down to Florida, perhaps to take part in his swearing in or bring him on board. Can you explain why he's being brought back to the department after 40 years?
So, I mean, look, I think that everybody in this administration, whether it's Department of Justice or elsewhere, we're always looking for good people. And he's somebody who has a deep bench. As you said, he's been in this business for decades. And when we had the opportunity to ask him to join the team and help, we readily did.
I have an on-topic and an off-topic, if you'll allow me. Are you able to explain a little bit more about what led to this investigation? Were you guys tipped off by a former employee, or how did you guys discover this?
No, I can't talk about that, but it's been going on for a long time. There was a time that it was shut down for a while during the last administration. I don't know why, and it was started again over the past year or so, and that brings us to today.
Sorry, you mean the investigation began before this administration and then was shut down during the Biden administration?
That's my understanding. I don't have information beyond what I just said around that.
I wanted to ask about the John Brennan investigation. If you can explain why the career prosecutor who had been leading that investigation was removed, and if you have or had concerns that investigation is not moving quickly enough.
I don't have any concerns about that investigation. And again, the reporting around that really is just a source purely from leaks and not actually accurate reporting is not something I'm going to comment on and never will comment on.
Could I ask you just to clarify one thing? Obviously, the Bureau had a long relationship with the SPLC. Is it your understanding that the previous leaders at the Bureau knew this was happening and didn't view it as a crime, or is that the Bureau did not know this was happening?
It is.
All right, now let's get to the more entertaining part, is where Cash Patel starts answering questions. Let's get into it.
We started it again, and that brings us to where we are today.
Hal, I do want to give you an opportunity to respond directly to the allegations in the Atlantic article that your unexplained absences created a national security risk. And beyond that, can you say definitively that you have not been intoxicated or absent?
Bro, say you was absent at work, bro. That's a national security risk. What are you doing? Well, I mean, remember, these are all from anonymous sources that's supposed to be in, the FBI. So who knows if they're actually real sources or not.
During your tenure as FBI director?
I can say unequivocally that I never listen to the fake news mafia. And as when they get louder, it just means I'm doing my job. This FBI director has been on the job twice as many days as every director before me. What that means is I've taken half as many days off as those before me. What that means is I've taken a third less vacation than those before me. What that means is that this FBI with this Department of Justice has dropped the murder rate 20 points. What that means is this FBI with this Department of Justice has captured 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world, twice as many as the Biden administration did in its entire 4 years. What that means is this FBI has seized enough fentanyl off the streets to kill 178 million Americans, a 31% increase. What that means is this FBI and this DOJ has arrested 43% more spies in 14 months than the entirety of the Biden administration. What that means is this FBI has seen a reduction in opiate overdose deaths up to 20% alone. What that means is that we have found 6,300 child victims, 6,300 families have their kids back. That is a 22% increase from the Biden administration. I'm on the job. I'm the first one in. I'm the last one out. I'm like an everyday American who loves his country, loves the sport of hockey, and champions my friends when they raise a gold medal and invite me in to celebrate. I've never been intoxicated on the job, and that is why we filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit. And any one of you that wants to participate, bring it on. I'll see you in court.
Explain the computer login issue. Just explain the computer login issue. You were not able to log into your lawsuit contends that you were not able to log into the system. What did you think after you were unable to log into the system?
Oh, let's have a survey. How many of you people believe that's true? Hang on.
Did you communicate?
You asked the question. Let me answer it.
No, let me.
No.
Did you communicate with anyone that you thought you were fired after you were unable to log into?
The problem with you and your report, don't cut me off. You asked the question. The problem with you and your baseless reporting is that is an absolute lie. It was never said. It never happened. And I will serve in this administration.
Never happened. I mean, hopefully it hasn't. Hopefully they don't come out with no type of like you on camera looking all drunk at the door yelling at your phone. Hopefully they don't do like that, Cash. Because I mean, you remember this? You remember Cash when he tried to deny that he was ever on Stu Peters' podcast? And Stu Peters, I mean, bro, you know, he does border on the line of anti-Semitism outright. But I'm gonna be real with you. He was on Stu Peters' podcast. He was in front of Congress. He literally lied to their face. Then they played this man on Stu Peters' podcast, and he just said, yeah, I still don't know. So I don't be real with you. I don't really trust Cass Patel when it comes to his honesty. I'm hoping that this isn't true, but I wouldn't be surprised if a video came out confirming that it's true. And he's claiming to want to sue. So, hey, when it all goes to discovery, we'll find out.
As long as the president and the attorney general want me to do so. And every time you guys report false lies, every time you guys raise baseless questions, when we are here to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center's $3 million decade-long scheme to fraudulently fleece Americans, you are off topic.
It's a simple, straightforward question. Did you talk to anybody about whether you thought
The simple answer to your question is you are lying. And every time you do so, I've answered your question. It's simply as follows. I was never locked out of my systems. Anybody who says it, anyone that says the opposite is lying. Thank you.
Look, man, stop. You're being extraordinarily rude. And I know maybe that's part of your profession, but please just stop. If you ask a question, he can answer it. And then now you're interrupting me. Like just a little bit of respect, man. Just a tiny little bit. Try it sometime.
Damn.
Good.
Earlier today,
Nah, they was on his ass though. They was really trying to get Cass to answer up, and they're just like, "Oh, so you're gonna sue?" I mean, well, hopefully that. I mean, here's the thing: whatever the Atlantic is going off of, they must be pretty damn confident in it if they're willing to like chastise him like this.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune once
You
again
never
was
know.
pleading for
I
an
doubt
end
it.
to the Justice Department's investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. How do you respond to a direct request like this from someone in your own party?
I haven't received the request, formally yet. I mean, listen, this is an ongoing investigation, and that's something that we can't talk about aside from saying yes, it's an ongoing investigation, and the senator knows that, and other senators know that as well, and we'll get through it. But it is an ongoing investigation, and we can't really talk about it, especially not in public. But we'll try to address any senator, not just a senator from the Republican Party's concerns about that.
Director Patel, you said in an interview over this weekend regarding the election into whether the 2020 presidential election was stolen, you said that there were going to be arrests coming, and I promise you it's coming soon. Hoping you could just elaborate a little bit on what that meant.
Sure. We have many ongoing investigations into large-scale conspiracies, and like we did today, we'll be announcing those arrests when the grand jury returns those indictments.
All right, just one more question, sir.
I have an on topic and off topic. On the Southern Poverty Law Center, my understanding was from the video that the group posted today that this program about paying the informants had ended. I wasn't clear about when that was. Do you have any information about when this program stopped paying informants, and then if there's a statute of limitations issue there? I just wasn't sure how far back we're talking. And then I have another on topic.
So look, all I can tell you is the indictment alleges a very long period of time that includes up to 2023. So that's I can't speak beyond, when it, if anything has been happening since then, just what the grand jury found.
And then I also wanted to ask a follow-up on Joe DeGeneva. Looking back at, he's been very vocal over the years about his thoughts about the 2016 investigation, about the intelligence assessment. One quote that he said in an article in 2020 was, "There's no doubt John Brennan was the primogenitor of this entire counterintelligence investigation. It was John Brennan who went to James Comey and basically pummeled him into starting a counterintelligence investigation against Trump."